Hi, this is Micornus, Phokane, the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. We are dealing with battles or challenges that pastors are going through that may not be known by their congregants. And these are the challenges that they battle with in their corners, in their spaces, in their own families sometimes, and you may not know about it. And these are the struggles that they're fighting against, that the devil is trying to attack them with as well. And some of the pastors are actually at the verge of being depressed. Some of them are actually at the verge of becoming suicidal because of these personal battles that they battle with. And I'm saying this because I know that some of the pastors think that they are alone in this, but I know that there are many pastors that are going through these particular challenges. And that's the reason why we want to address this so that you can rise up as a pastor and know that you can continue, because that's not the end of the road. Now, the first challenge that I want us to deal with is pastors go through deaths of loved ones. Deaths of loved ones. And this is a challenge. And I'm sure you would have seen that some of the pastors that have had their partners for a very long time, their wives, their husbands for a very long time, along the way, they lose the spouse. And this is a very, very touchy situation because it's difficult. And some of the situations, you find that when you've lost a loved one, this is an individual that have been supporting you the rest of your ministry, the rest of your life. And now you've lost a loved one. Remember, it is not just the fact that you've lost a loved one, but you've lost a supporter too. You've lost a destiny helper too. You've lost somebody who is there for you, a counselor, somebody who's supporting you by all means. It is not only in the ministry that you experience support from your spouse, from your loved one. It is also emotionally, it's also psychologically as well. And therefore, when you lose a loved one as a pastor, these are the emotions that they're going through. And I want to speak about this because we know the pastors that have lost loved ones, that have lost wives, that have lost husbands, that are now running the ministry on their own because their spouse have actually died or have passed on. And we have seen some of these people that you find that it's the visionary that dies. It's the visionary that leaves. So therefore, the spouse is the one that is remaining behind. This is the same problem that we speak as a challenge, because the ministry then become a burden to the spouse who is not the original visionary. We have seen this happening, and this is something that is very key for us to know how to deal with it, therefore, to support them by all means, to make sure that we are there for them, to make sure that where they need advice, and we are able to advise, to give them advice as well. Now, the pain of losing a loved one is the same to a pastor like it is to a congregant. And I want to emphasize this because I know that congregants, most of the time, when a pastor has lost a loved one, they don't know how to approach it. They don't know how to comfort a pastor because they think that the pastor is strong enough because the pastor has been encouraging them when they've lost their loved ones. And therefore, they think that a pastor can cope with everything. And I want to urge you, as a member of a church, as a congregant, as a child of God, wherever you are, please understand your pastor as a human being as well, who's feeling the same pain that you feel when you've lost a loved one. It is a difficult situation like you feel exactly. They feel lonely as well, like yourself. They feel left out like yourself. They feel hopeless like yourself as well. So therefore, it is very important that when you are dealing with a pastor that have lost a loved one, you deal with them as individuals, as human beings, not just as these strong human beings that you think they are, as pastors and men of God and women of God that you see them to be. Realize that they've got emotions as well, they've got feelings as well, and they are therefore feeling left out, and they're feeling the pain and the hurt. They grieve like you grieve as well. So therefore, if you are able to step in and counsel a pastor who has lost a loved one, remember that you don't need a special counseling for a pastor, because a pastor is a human being, by the way. Like you know how to counsel any other individual when they've lost their loved one. So please do the same, even when it's a pastor, because they feel the same pain. And as I say, they are grieving like you grieve. They're grieving like any other individual grieve. So therefore, many times we don't support our pastors because we think that they are stronger than everybody else. But losing a spouse or losing a loved one It is actually painful and painful to anyone. And therefore, it cannot be treated differently because now we're dealing with a pastor. I want to emphasize that even though you're dealing with a pastor, but a loss of a loved one is still very painful. Now, I want to also make you aware that if you are a pastor who have lost a loved one, don't act to be more stronger than you are. Don't act like you are stronger than everybody. So therefore, be vulnerable like any other person can be vulnerable. So please be vocal as well, where you need to speak about it and tell other people that you are going through rough times. Feel free to open up to them and let it be that you get help where you need to get help. If you need a professional help, so please realize that as well. Diagnose yourself in that regard. Reflect yourself to that regard. Make sure that you know that you need help and therefore rise up and raise your hand and say, I need help here, and be able to tell the people that you need help. Where you need counseling from a professional person, please make sure that you seek help from professional people as well. And this is very, very important because there are many people that the pastors that have gone through this particular challenge of losing a loved one and going through this pain and this grief alone, and they're isolated. Their congregants are afraid to come to counsel them. Everybody's running away from them, but they're feeling the pain. And to an extent that this pastor feel left out and they feel like they can even commit suicide. And I want to tell you as a pastor, please don't do that. Rise up and seek help where help is needed. And sometimes you may actually go to, as I said, professional help. You may need actually a mentor who can mentor you through. You may need to speak to people that have gone through the same situation of losing a loved one and find out from them, how did you cope? And because others have gone through that, it might mean that they know how to go through that pain and don't go through that pain alone as a pastor. The other challenge that is of a very common challenge as well, that pastors are going through that their congregants may not know about, is what we call curse of the elders. Now, curse of the elders, we're speaking about where people have spoken a curse upon your life. Where people of elderly age, maybe your own parents, you might have actually had a very serious family background where you grew up, where your own father or your own mother cursed you, where they spoke some words that are following you right now. Now you are a pastor and you are an individual who's serving God, and you are going through this situation whereby the words that were said by your own parents, that were said by your own elders upon your life, are actually carried over onto your shoulders, and you're going through a challenge of carrying them every day, and you don't know how to come out of that. And this is very important, that sometimes if those parents are still alive, so please, if it's possible, see them, tell them to reverse those words. And also, you are able also to go to somebody who can actually speak some words upon your life that will be words of blessings. And this is very important because remember that sometimes we try to get over it. But because the curse of an elder becomes a burden upon our shoulders, our lives are not organized, are not actually in a proper manner, just because words have been spoken against you in the past. And from the elders that need to reverse it, from the people that needs to reverse it, and maybe they're not there anymore. But I want to advise you as a pastor to realize that if there's a situation like that people have cursed you, people have spoken bad things against you, they've actually assigned words that are actually torturing you right now. So please look for somebody senior, look for somebody who's a mentor, look for somebody who's matured spiritually. Let them speak and cast those words away and cast those demonic forces that away, and sit down with you therefore and give you a proper counsel that will encourage you to rise up and be able to conquer and live against those words. Because sometimes it becomes very oppressive to try to rise up against those words until someone come, encourage you, counsel you through, and be able to assist you as well on conquering this. Now, there are times also whereby you were in a church before. And as a pastor, when you went to open your church, you have actually walked out of the church that you were in through rebellion. And I want to address this just before I close. That whereby you walked away from your senior pastor with anger. And sometimes you fought with the senior pastor when you went to open a church. And sometimes when you start to run the ministry, you find things not running well. You find things not in place and things not actually shaping up. And the reason could be because of the bitterness that you left the senior pastor with. It could be because of the rebellion that you walked with when you walked away from your church where you used to be. And this is the opportunity as a young pastor sometimes to make a self-reflection and say, this is what is holding me back. I'm not able to continue because there might be a curse that is following me. And that curse is actually coming and following me based on how I left my previous church, how I spoke to the previous senior pastor, how I treated this previous senior pastor. Now be humble enough as a pastor. Go back to the pastor that you submitted under, and speak to that pastor, apologize, ask for forgiveness. And also, if you are the one who were offended, forgive and pass by. And make sure that you make things right with the individual and continue in a cleaner slate. And you're losing nothing by doing that. And I know it is difficult for some of us, whereby we feel like I won't forgive anymore. You feel like I cannot go to that man again and apologize. He is the one who offended me, and I must sit back and I cannot go. But you're delaying yourself if you do that. You are actually killing yourself emotionally and spiritually when you do that, because you remain with this bitterness that hovers around you like that curse of elders that is actually on your shoulders. And I want to urge you that swallow your pride, make sure that you rise up and humble yourself actually and ask forgiveness for those that you offended. And ask forgiveness for those that offended you as well. And make sure that you move on a cleaner slate and you become a better person. And as you do so, you'll realize that curses of elders can be removed through that way. And I want you as a pastor to be able to lead the people of God without bitterness, without unforgiveness yourself. Because remember, these things may follow you through and they may actually affect your church. And you may find yourself not being able to progress properly because you're carrying this burden, therefore, of rebellion upon your shoulders. Please move away from curses of the elders, walk away from that and conquer that every day of your life. I want to end up here today. Your host, Micornus Phokane. Thank you very much for listening to us and being part of this great topic. And I hope that you are getting helped through this. We will deal with part 3 tomorrow. And may the good Lord bless you. Remember also to follow us on social media platforms, Micornus Phokane and Church Governance Solutions. Please click like on those platforms. These are Facebook pages. Make sure that you also subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure that you follow us on the YouTube channel. We've got a lot of materials that we have posted in there. But another thing that I want to emphasize is click notification buttons on these platforms, because then you will be notified each time there is a post that we've posted. And may the good Lord bless you. And I believe that you've learned quite a bit out of this and you will take it further and also advise others in this regard. And allow me to check out right here, your host, Micornus Phokane, once more, the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. We want to check out right here and say, join us tomorrow as we say cheers for now.